Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Inside the Courtroom, the Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial Wrap. I'm Mnisi. Now, the week started with all eyes fixed on whether advocate Charles Mnisi would show up to court, since he wasn't necessarily granted leave of absence by the court to run the Comrades Marathon. But instead, it saw Judge Ratamokwatleng start proceedings with an apology. Take a look. The judge's controversial race-based comments sparked outrage from some corners of society, including within the legal fraternity. The comments were made on Thursday in what was a continued call for order and decorum following unsavory exchanges between Advocate Mnisi and the lead investigator during cross-examination on Wednesday, and then a request by Mnisi to miss court because he would be returning from running the Comrades Marathon. After what appears to be some reflection, the judge came back with an apology.
All of us, I suppose, we read newspapers. This is proper that I should address this issue. But initially I want to say I have been 26 years on the bench as an acting judge, and as a judge I have never, ever, ever behaved the way I did on Friday. And I've been 30 years as an attorney. Before I became a judge, 30 years I was an attorney. I spoke to the JP, and the JP spoke to me together with the DJP. And the JP rightfully excoriated me for my conduct, that it is not befitting of a judge of my experience and stature, that I should have behaved like I did. And I agree. My conduct was questionable and incorrect. And my wife also, who I thought, young Saba is afraid of me, told me that I should apologize to the whole of South Africa because I am worse than the attorneys who apparently steal the monies of clients in the RAF matter. She was reading a paper the other day about the fact that attorneys apparently, and they're colorless, stole about 1.5 billion of RAF funds which belong to clients. And I wish now to tender my sincerest apologies. It's contra my nature to do that. I have a son, he just died recently, who's an advocate. He's older than you, Ms. Mshololo. He was born in 1968. He died because of lymphatic cancer. I think he would have also have been disappointed at my conduct. That's why I say I heartily and unreservedly, with no qualification, apologize to my colleagues here, to the accused. They say I mustn't call you the accused. They are correct. The gentleman in front of me.
The judge's comments were labeled by some as racist.
And I've also been accused of being a racist. I want to just talk one or two things about me as a person without being a lawyer. I grew up in the house of Moses Kotane. Nelson Mandela used to come at home, Walter Sisulu, even Robert Sobukwe, before he broke away from the ANC. My father was involved as a member of the ANC and the Communist Party. He would be mortified to hear that I am a racist. And another thing which you may not know, my great-grandmother was a German. She was born in Bochum. Apparently he met some German priest, meaning my grandmother was a German, and I recall that she used to cut her hair, crop it short, so that people mustn't realize that she's got white blood. So I know everything about racism. I grew up also under the tutelage of the late Bishop Tutu. I was talking to his son, Trevor, yesterday at the seminary. So if you want to know me, whether I'm a racist or not, you can ask, for instance, Archbishop Thabo Makgoba, Father Mkhatshwa, Professor Lesiba Tefu, Professor Seth Cooper, Professor Bani Pichana. I used to be a member of SASO. We founded SASO, 1968. I wasn't a leading light, but at Fort Hare, I was the secretary of the branch there. I can confirm that with Judge Selby Barker, who's here. And subsequently, I became a member of the Black People's Convention after the ANC was banned. And subsequently, I became a member of AZAPO, and I was the Secretary for Legal Affairs and Sport when Mrs. Khware was the president of AZAPO. I cut my teeth in politics together with Cyril Ramaphosa. He was my junior, actually, in politics. And I mean, I was tutored by people like Thabo Mbeki. He'd be shocked to hear that I'm a racist. So if people say I'm a racist, maybe I'm not aware of that. But if I trampled on anybody's toes because of my racism, despite being an adherent to the Freedom Charter, 1955, I was there in Kliptown with my father. I wish to apologize for being a racist. I'll try and mend my ways, but I can tell you, it's not a conscious thing about me to be a racist.
He even offered to recuse himself if the accused believed he was not fit to adjudicate the matter.
So I apologize. And the gentleman in front of me, if you believe that I, as a judge, I'm so useless, dumb, baluka, moho, etc., and you think you can't get a fair trial from me, please tell me. I'll recuse myself. Don't want to impose myself on people who doubt my integrity, honor, and dignity. And I mean it. If you think this judge, the way he's a racist, the way he doesn't care for the Constitution, he's not fit to be our judge, please tell me, and I'll recuse myself.
With the judge having apologized for his conduct, the question still remained: would Advocate Mnisi show up in court? Pictures of him running the Comrades Marathon circulated on social media on Sunday. His request to miss court for the race also sparked a great debate, especially for a matter that has been running for so long and families waiting for justice. But it also drew scores of people who tracked his run and saw him make the list of the top 20 most tracked runners in the Comrades Marathon. The question was, would he show up on Monday after conquering the ultimate human race?
I do confirm my appearance on behalf of accused number 2. And further, my Lord, on Friday, Advocate Mnisi requested me to stand in on his behalf in respect of Mr. Ngube and Mr. Sibia. I've spoken to both the respective parties, and they are amenable, my Lord.
Ramusipili standing in for Mnisi meant that the court was properly constituted because his clients were also legally represented in the matter. This paved the way for the state to bring their application to recall 2 of its witnesses who would testify about the photographic evidence that they say they discovered during the long adjournment that was given to Advocate Mnisi for him to familiarize himself with the docket on behalf of accused number 1.
We have signaled our intention to hand in 3 additional photos of accused number 3. As I've just explained, that is actually just one photo that is shown in 3 different positions. Okay. And this photo was found on the cell phone download of accused number 3. And we're on page 2, and 16 additional photos of accused number 2, which were found on the SD card or the memory card on his cell phone. And these photos also include 2 photos of accused number 1. We mentioned that these additional photos do not form part of any of the exhibits that are before court, but are contained in the totality of the photos that were downloaded on these gadgets mentioned above by the downloaders, namely Sergeant M. Mabasa and Warrant Officer L.T. Ndlovu, respectively.
The state says it wants to deal with further issues related to the description and identification of the 2 alleged intruders of the Khumalo home.
The state intends to present the additional photo of accused number 3 in its 3 forms to show other features of accused number 3 that were canvassed during cross-examination by Advocate Mnisi, such as the gold tooth, paragraph 2.2. Insofar as accused number 2 is concerned, the state seeks to show more photos as further appearance of accused number 2 as came up in the cross-examination of Brigadier Gininda, as an issue was joined with him regarding the identification of accused number 2 by the witnesses.
This application could not be responded to on Monday because Mnisi was not in court.
With respect to Mr. Sibia and Mr. Ngube, they have requested me to implore the court to allow them the opportunity for Mr. Advocate Mnisi to respond to the application, because there's a further instruction emanating from Mr. Ngube which pertains to this particular photo, the 3 photos that the state intends to use, and he says he can only give that instruction to Advocate Mnisi so that he can relay it to the court as well, my lord. So they've implored me that we ask for an adjournment so that they can then instruct Advocate Mnisi to respond substantially to the application, and as well as myself, my lord, I'm going to request an opportunity as well to draft short heads of argument to respond to the application by the state, my lord.
Mnisi returned on Tuesday, ready to oppose the state's application.
The issue here is about the gold teeth. When Brigadier Gininda was requested by me to direct us to a photo as contained in Exhibit S, a photo that denotes that the suspect had a golden teeth, he referred to this court to photo number 15 in Exhibit S. He specifically referred to this court to number 15 and said that is accused number 3, and there's a golden teeth. And in fact, that photo number 15, I'm not an expert, but when one looks at it, is a photo that would have been taken on the 24th of November 2014. On the 23rd of November 2014. When one looks at it, to the right-hand side of the, to the right-hand side of the upper teeth line, I don't know what to call it now. Yes. There appears to be something that is shiny there. I will assume that's the gold, and that is exactly what Brigadier Kininda referred to when he said, yeah, no, this is accused number 3, and we can see here that on the upper, on this upper jaw, there's a golden teeth. Now one wonders whether the picture that is denoted there is one of accused, exemplifies accused number 3, or that's a picture of accused number 3. It is clear to all and sundry, and this is beyond reproach, that cannot be accused number 3. That is not accused number 3, and that will never be accused number 3. Now, the state further seeks to justify the fact that it is basically the state, and I'm cleaning this from the heads of argument of the state, that this information was extensively canvassed by the defense in the cross-examination of Brigadier Kininda. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. We never at any point ever suggested that accused number 3 had a golden teeth. That was not our evidence. This evidence came from the state itself.
Ramosepeli, representing the second alleged intruder, Bongani Ntanzi, also opposed the application.
An application of this nature, that is, recalling of witnesses, may also be refused, and to quote, to exclude irrelevancies and discourage repetition, and I close. And my submission, my lord, is that the photos that we've been supplied with of Mr. Ntanzi, it's a repetition of how he looks like. And the burning question is how he looks like in 2014. We don't know how he looks like in 2014. We don't know the date of those pictures pertaining to the date of the incident that this court is concerned with, my lord.
The defense primarily argued that this evidence had no relevance to the material facts and that the state wanted to have a second bite at the cherry. Having considered all submissions, the judge handed down his ruling on the same day.
The prejudice, if any, is it has been tendered at a later stage, but the state has proffered compelling and compellable evidence that this evidence, although it can be categorized as new, it has relevance to this case, and it is related to all the evidence that has been led in this case, that of photographs. And we talked about the photographs being about 5,000 or 7,000. And there is no ambush.
He was persuaded by the state's application, thus ruled in their favor.
This court is persuaded because the state is saying this evidence is relevant and it is connected to the case, and it doesn't materially change, according to the defense proffered by the accused. They pleaded not guilty, and they proffered, during the cross-examination of some of the witnesses, they proffered defenses which range from, we were not there, we know nothing about that, the state's evidence is not correct, etc., etc. Consequently, in the interest of justice, the court admits that the state is entitled to lead those two witnesses, if it so desires.
After the break, we get into the photographic evidence that was presented by Warrant Officer Ndlovu and Sergeant Mabasa. Don't go anywhere.